the balance, because the balance was the one that's the biggie. And now since just in the last 3 weeks, I got this on May 3rd, this new one, and I've been wearing 2. My balance has improved. I carried a case of water from the car to the garage. I mean, that's not something I usually can do. And I did. I walked fairly straight and not side to side and bouncing off the cars.
Hey, Mary, thanks for coming to spend some time with me today.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. So can you start off by telling us a little bit about how you felt prior to coming to QHS?
I just felt and was told by doctors that I'm as good as I'm going to get. And I've been the way I am for 20 years, come July 28th.
And what was that?
Everything went, 2000 and my dad died 2003.
Okay. And for 20 years, how were you feeling? What were you experiencing?
What happened to me was like an autoimmune disease struck my body one night when I went to sleep on July 28th, 2003. Or I woke up and I was deaf. Well, I thought I had something in my ear. And I got up at 4:00 in the morning because I had a hot flash. And I've been going through a lot of stress. My dad had passed away. He got sick like Good Friday and then died 6 weeks after. And then
Wow.
6 weeks after we got him buried, I woke up deaf, and it was just stress. They put me through a gamut of tests. Nobody could figure out. And then it took out my balance. It started working on my balance, and then I started hearing this choir in my brain. And it was,
Wow.
and I was a receptionist. And so I lost my hearing in my left, and then it started going over to my right. My child was 5 years old. He's 25 now. And it was like I did MRIs, CAT scans, just all, anything, anybody. And there was no reason that they could come up with. They thought I had a stroke or MS, Meniere's disease. They ran thousands of dollars, which I couldn't afford, of tests. And everything came back, we don't know. And so that's why they determined and called it and diagnosed it as an autoimmune disease, which is when your body attacks itself. The doctor explained. He just said, so when they did the MRIs and put that in the window and showed me, I've learned a lot about hearing mostly. And the balance issue is terrible. It's like a 1-year-old. You've seen a 1-year-old try to learn how to walk, and they wave their like a big orangutan kind of thing. Just trying to, but it's really weird is if somebody holds my hand, then I have balance. Or like in the grocery store, I have a cart or hold on to something, not a cane. Cane's doesn't work with me walking because it's like step, side step, because it's the worst drunk that you never sober up from. When I turn my head, when you turn your head, your eyes focus on whatever you're turning your head and looking at. Mine goes like this. It's like everything spins. I mean, seriously, I really probably shouldn't be driving a car, but and I asked the doctor, how come I can drive? Because it's like, I can't read signs, I can't read stores, I can't read billboards, I can't read streets, but I know red and green and yellow. I get, it's like, I can't take a drink of water while I'm driving, which is pretty challenging even when you're okay. When you don't have issues, you shouldn't be doing that. But it's like, I can't take my eyes off the road. And he said, it's because your eyes are focused on whatever you're looking at. And that's why you can drive. Now, one of them people that gets the finger a lot. I drive, I don't get up on the highway and stuff like that because the 18-wheelers and people drive so fast. I like slow, I just drive around my neighborhood, stores and stuff. I don't really care to drive. And as I've gotten older, this happened to me when I was 45.
Oh,
So
you're
now
65?
I'm 65. Yeah. So I've aged also. And so that's a normal decline as somebody ages from 45 to 65.
Sure.
So that's me, So yeah, I don't want to say I've gotten worse. My condition has maintained. I still have the choir. I have still the balance issue. And I did get 2 cochlear implants. It's just been a long, Tracy, I'm telling you, it has been a long journey. And I know God handpicked this disability for me because it just fits me. It's just, I don't get upset. I make jokes because I walk like a drunk. I mean, it's just, that's what my husband's like. People think you're drunk. You talk so loud and you walk weird. And I get it, but it's like, I don't care what people think. That has really, I don't care anymore. Not anymore. Maybe I used to, but you just get what you get because then you see other people that are a lot worse off.
Oh yeah. There's a great Dr. Seuss quote. It says, "Be who you are and say what you feel. For the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind."
That's true. That's very true.
So,
because what do? You take what God gives you,
Yeah.
And I have grown a lot closer to God. I was, born and raised Catholic and went to Catholic schools, and my mother was going to be a nun, but chose to go out into life. But, it was just very close to the church, and just me and God have always been very close. My aunt was a nun. I mean, it's just a long line of God. I've always been raised very close to him. So,
Good.
and then as I got older and moved to Texas, you fall away from the church. But, as you get older, you end up going back. Some people do, some people don't. But when I lost my hearing, it was just me and God. My child couldn't hear me. My husband couldn't hear him. I mean, I couldn't hear my husband, my child. I got laid off. I mean, it was like my world cratered. It was really a really dark time for me. I would go to church and couldn't even hear what they were saying. Thank goodness, Catholics is pretty just following the missalette, and I couldn't hear the sermons, but the actions when it's embedded in you. And it was just the longest, darkest tunnel that I couldn't communicate. I just go in there and cry. I didn't, it was just, I was so alone. But then as things changed and I got a hearing aid, and then eventually I got a cochlear, and then like 9 years later, I got another cochlear on the other side, because it was like gradual. Some of the hearing loss would come, it would fluctuate, and I would confuse the doctor. It'd be like people lose hearing, but it don't ever come back. But I would take these, like, I'd go to the health food store and get Golden Seal and just different stuff. And sometimes people would say, "Are you hearing better?" It was just, I was a big pain in the butt to talk to. I'm a chatty Kathy.
It's funny. My best friend, so she was a special ed. Well, she was a special ed teacher, and she learned sign language. And then when she had her first baby, no kidding, she was deaf. Like you said, God picked you for this disease, or this disease for you, whatever. It's the same like with her and her daughter. Like, she was so worried about her daughter because she was totally deaf. And now she's married with a baby and living a great life. So
did she get her hearing fixed?
Yeah, she got a cochlear implant on one side, I think. I think it's only on one side. So Mary, after you got your device, let's hear what happened. What changes did you feel?
So well, the third thing that the autoimmune disease did was it gave me that tinnitus. And it was
Oh.
such a severe case of tinnitus that I have a choir on the left that sings 24/7. And they're kind of the monkeys and the Wizard of Oz is the way I describe it to people. That that real low, whoa, whoa. And it's creepy. But what's not creepy is they sing whatever song my brain thinks about. And I've talked to the doctor about that because there's a roaring and a ringing and a helicopter on that I hear on the right side, and then the choir's on the left, and there's a little ringing noise. But the doctor says, Mary, it comes from the brain. They can't fix it. There's no way they can fix that because your hearing loss is so severe, and it affected like your middle ear and your inner ear hair cells. You know how, Tracy, if people's hearing, it's just one little hair. You've heard of people with vertigo that have it's an inner ear infection. Oh, I have an inner ear infection, I'm dizzy kind of thing. Well, mine's that on steroids. And it's so, yeah. So that's why I can't walk. But when that attacked me that night, it fried my hair cell. The doctor said, it's not there. It's gone. And that's why I think Dr. A, I think the QR could make that hair cell grow back.
Sure.
And the box has really improved my balance. And I've been wearing it since August. And I recently got, this is like my 4th week of the bigger one.
Okay. Yeah, this one.
So Cynthia said we could wear 2. So I wear one. Now that the hot weather's here, I don't want it to get wet. But in the winter, I would wear it hooked to my bra, so it would be right up by my, I just want it by my head.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of things that this has fixed that I was geared towards the hearing and the balance and all that. But it's taken care of a couple incidents. Like I got bit by a dog on my leg probably 25, 30 years ago. I mean, I always had this little hard bone thing that sometimes it would hurt if you press on it. I couldn't press on it. But then as I got older, it got more tender. But I could still have this little ball that I could roll around here on the side of my knee. And there's a scar from the dog's tooth that's getting lighter as I've been wearing this.
Wow.
But that little bone ball thing, it's not there anymore. I can press on it. I couldn't even lay on my right side in bed because I couldn't stand for that thing to touch the sheets because it just hurt. It just would make me jump because it hurt so bad. And I thought, gosh, and this was like probably a year before I got the QR or even heard anything about the Q. My neighbor got this into me.
How's your tinnitus?
Actually, that's also been improved before I got this. Just the little one started making the choir. Before, when it first happened to me, it was like the helicopter and the roaring and the ringing were sitting on my shoulders, and the choir sitting on my shoulder. It was so loud. I used to take Ambien and to help me go to sleep, because when I take the hearing off, that's when they sing big time loud. And it would I couldn't go to sleep. And so I took Ambien probably 15 years, but then I felt like it was harming my memory. And that was one of the side effects on it. And as I aged,
yeah,
I didn't know if it was the Ambien or, I didn't care. I didn't want it to happen. So I forced myself to wean myself off of that.
Has your sleep improved with the devices?
Just started, like, God, I can't even wake up. Are you kidding me? I sleep so sound. that it takes me 2 cups of coffee to really wake up because I sleep so sound. I don't even get up to pee or nothing. And
Wow.
I know. And I used to get up, at least 2 or 3 times a night. Right now, this cue is what makes me happy.
Good. Good.
Because like I told you, I lost my job. So I've been on disability since 2009. I lost my career. I was in real estate and I worked for attorneys before that. And, I had quite a career going. But when this happened to me, everything changed. My world turned upside down.
Aw.
And I still learned to live with the choir and gradually getting the hearing fixed. And now the balance, because the balance was the one that's the biggie. And now since just in the last 3 weeks, I got this on May 3rd, this new one, and I've been wearing 2. My balance has improved to the point I carried a case of water from the car to the garage. I mean, that's not something I usually can do. That's for the boys, But I just thought, and I did. I walked fairly straight and not side to side and bouncing off the cars.
So you're sober.
And yeah, I'm
Sober
getting
walk.
sober. I'm sobering up. And I can step off the curb without holding on to the car that's parked there. I did it this morning. I just walked straight down the sidewalk. I walked down the street. Usually I have to walk in the middle of the street because I back and forth,
Aw.
step,
So
side step.
that's really good too, because it falls, so many people fall and then they end up in rehab for a long time and in bed and they can't walk and then they get pneumonia and it's like that slippery slope.
Yeah,
So
see,
that is
I
super
haven't
important.
if I do fall, it's a slow fall. I mean, that's what I mean. You know how drunks don't get hurt.
That's what they say, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like slow fall. So yeah, I mean, I've
That's
fallen, I've tripped, I catch my weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. That's what I tell everybody. But I scare a lot of people. I make people nervous if I'm trying to do something. They'll say, "Here, let me do," just to carry something or just and walking in the wind. If the wind blows my hair,
oh, in front of your eyes and
it can blow me over now. It'll be a year, August 30th, that I had my first device, but I've been listening to calls and stuff since April of last year. So I've over a year now. And my friend Doris Bumpus, she's the one that put me on hers and put me on her family plan.
Mm-hmm.
But then we weren't blood, and so I called because I didn't want her to get in trouble because y'all were all new back then, and we would listen to Cynthia and everybody, Dr. A on the calls every Friday. We'd go down there and have drinks and listen to the calls. and we just couldn't wait till our devices came. But then the more you listen every week, it was like we weren't blood, and I didn't want to get her in trouble, and get her kicked out. So I got the number and contacted, and I talked to Christine, I think, and told her my story, because the balance thing wasn't just. I almost drowned. I pulled my son underwater 3 times and almost drowned him because I didn't know I couldn't swim. I used to be a lifeguard type swimmer. And it was like, I didn't know my limitations of what all this affected. I tell you how I couldn't read a billboard, or how it blows me over, or the sun shining in my eyes, it makes me fall in darkness. I don't go out at night because once I lose the daylight, that makes my balance 10 times worse.
Mm.
And it's because you can't see.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
so, you know how you wake up and to go to the bathroom, you can't see when it's dark at night when you go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go hand over fist down the wall because I couldn't. It would make me so dizzy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and when he was only 5 when this happened, so I had to still be a mom and a
Yeah.
wife, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't easy at all. And I take him up to the rainforest swimming, and the lifeguard almost jumped in because she saw me pull him under, and it was because I went underwater thinking I could swim, and I couldn't find up, and I was running out of breath.
That's
And
stressful.
it was, and it made me cry. Finally, I haven't been in the water again since.
Mm.
I
Not
still don't
yet.
know if no, after the queue, maybe I can swim.
So let's go to that part, my favorite part. So now you get to take all these life lessons, experience, and apply it to a new, younger body, and you get a do-over, a second chance. What are you going to do with that, Mary?
Mm, Make up for the 20 years that I didn't have it and rediscover all the stuff that I lost that I can now redo again. Like maybe swim, maybe walk without falling over. I don't care how I look. I don't care. I just want to be able to walk a straight line and pass a sobriety test. I mean, it's like I can't close. I have to sit like a shower. You know how most people can stand in the shower and take a normal shower? I can't. I have to sit down because I can't close my eyes and lean over because I would fall. And even going up and down stairs, I have to have a handrail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I have to hold on because I'm not trustworthy on stuff like that. I still haven't,
Yeah.
even with these two, even though I do the curb, I haven't done the flight of stairs without holding on. I'm not sure I would,
Well, why
because I
you
could
don't
fall
need to,
backwards.
and you don't need to. You can still get up the stairs, right?
Yeah.
So but now you'll be able to do that. And you're saying all these beautiful yet simple things that most of us take for granted. But you get to, so there's a great quote I love. It says, dream big dreams because small dreams have no magic. So
Right.
what if you look at the bigger picture, the more beyond the simple daily tasks that you want back to enjoy? Now you get to do anything. What are you going to do?
Whisper. I would like to hear a whisper. I even with the cochlears, you can't hear whispers. Isn't that
Aw.
stupid? Is that stupid?
No. Are you kidding?
I I used to be the biggest eavesdropper when we'd go out to eat. I would always listen to the booth behind me, and I was just nosy. I don't know. It was more interesting than what I was with, I guess. But
Oh, that's
but
funny.
I just that was something I missed when I went deaf because it was like you're in your own little world. And I've got more unfinished stories because even like the phone, even if you tell somebody you're deaf and you're hearing impaired or whatever, and okay, I'll speak up. And then they start speaking up. But by the 10, they forget. I've got
Mm.
so many unfinished stories. And then I get tired of telling people to speak back up. Unless I really want to hear what they're saying, I'll stop them if they kind of drop their voice and I can't really hear what they're saying. I will
Mhm.
make them say that again. Sometimes you just have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, of
But
course.
sometimes you don't care or you feel like you're a pain in the butt and you don't want to interrupt.
Oh, you
Just
got to meet
yes.
my husband. He's like that. He's the biggest storyteller ever, I'll tell you.
And, men mumble, even on like when I talk to a man on the phone, when this first happened, it was low tones was what the audiologist said was most severe damaged. I couldn't hear low tones, but I could hear high tones, higher tone pitches. Like my husband called it selective hearing because I could hear my neighbor, but she's well spoke. She enunciates her words. She speaks loud. Where men have the low tone, and plus they mumble. They don't use their tongue when they talk, and they don't enunciate their words. Not all of them. There's some very well spoken men out there, but the majority, I can hear women better than men.
Oh, interesting. Maybe it's
Does
also
that
their
make sense?
frequency. So one idea for you to consider when you take out your implants or when you turn off your hearing for the night, I've heard from friends that you can hear your own frequency. And so when I go to bed most nights, that's what I lean into while I'm going to sleep, is I just tune into my own inner frequency. And I can do it outside taking a walk as well. So that might be a fun thing for you to lean into that. And that way, maybe it will tune out the annoying sounds that you're hearing.
It doesn't work like that really, because the choir is always there and the roaring in the ring, because it comes from wherever. So what I have found that works for me is I pray my rosary. I'll start saying Hail Marys, 5 of them. I mean, I don't know how far I get. Usually I fall asleep.
Oh, good.
But God don't care. But that is how I got off of Ambien. I mean, I'd say the Apostles' Creed. I would just start saying Hail Mary, Our Father, and by the time eventually I'd fall asleep.
Oh, good. And now you're sleeping like a baby. That's beautiful.
And now, yeah. And it's something interesting is, people laugh at this thing. They don't believe it. Do you find that?
I don't
do you know
care.
people that are ignorant? I don't care either. Like,
Well,
yeah, you just
okay,
wait,
so
baby.
people already look at me as being an outsider when it comes to health. I've been a holistic health coach, a certified holistic health coach since 2011.
Wow.
And so everybody knows that I am an outside the box thinker. I fired a doctor because she was drinking a Diet Coke. And I'm like, if you're drinking a Diet Coke, then you don't understand nutrition. And so I didn't want to be her patient. But so people always have thought of me as being an outsider and rebellious or whatever when it comes to, normal allopathic medicine. And so for me to say something like this, they say, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I said, well, check out the YouTube channel, all the wonderful, beautiful testimonials of people who I get to interview every day. And so, but also think about this, Mary, after the Q arc, I mean, hello,
See,
we're going to be unrecognizable.
What's going to happen with the hardware that's in my head? Because a cochlear implant is just not just a hearing aid, Tracy. It was a 3.5 hour operation, and it cost, one side was over $100,000, and this one was over $200,000 and that was 9 years in between, I guess. But I had to sign a document saying, yes, I know you're going to cut my auditory nerve and I will never hear out of this ear again. They cut the main nerve in order to implant the magnet and the doctor's part. They take a Dremel drill. I have 2 holes in my head back here.
I'm familiar with it. My friend's daughter had it twice because the first pair failed. So I guess she did have both sides done because the first failed. So she had to do the whole thing again. So I get it. But Dr. A says this, anything in your body that is an artificial anything will become a natural anything. So for instance, if you have an artificial tooth, like a implant and, a crown or whatever, that will all of a sudden become natural. If you have a transplant, a kidney, it's somebody else's kidney, it will transform into your own kidney and that of a 30-year-old kidney.
So the magnet, see this is my cochlear.
It's just going to be
and
changed.
This is a magnet. Here's a little magnet, and this coil fits. There's a magnet that the doctor put in, and when the two magnets come together, I have sound.
It's just going to take this whole thing and make it a natural hearing ear like that of a perfect 30-year-old. Dr. A and Cynthia have said this on many calls, and they say that everything will become that of a 30-year-old. So if the perfect 30-year-old body has perfect hearing with a perfect ear, then that's what we are going to have as well. So don't worry about the minutia. Just know that your body is going to be that of a perfect 30-year-old based on frequency. And it's going to change all of your cells, because at the end of the day, everything is made of frequency, everything, and so your cells are really 99.9% frequency.
That's amazing.
Even like your phone is frequency, everything is frequency, so you can't see the frequency of a radio, but you can hear that frequency. That's just proof that it exists, right? So we just aren't conditioned to believe that this is possible, but we know that this is frequency. And if we're getting, help from this small little device, imagine what's going to happen when we have something that's 100 times more powerful. With the ARC to 3D holographically create anything that's not there. So
it will
exciting.
Create anything that's not there.
Yeah. So if you're missing, like Cynthia's missing a gallbladder or an appendix or maybe both, and it will be recreated back in her body. So
that's amazing.
Every connection will be repaired. Everything will be replaced. That's not currently there.
I mean, I can totally see it fixing my inner ear hair cell, but the middle ear is where you get your hair from, and that was also fried, and that's where the doctor fixed. He fixed that and gave me hearing again, but he couldn't fix balance.
Why would it differentiate? Why would it say, well, I'm going to fix one part of your ear, but not the other? There's no discrimination. It's going to fix everything.
No, well, it just shows you how precious the body is and how God did one hair cell for your balance, and he did another hair cell for your hearing. So the people that get inner ear, like they wake up and they're dizzy and whatever, but they don't have an earache or anything. And then like the middle ears, when people get swimmer's ear and they have an earache, but they don't lose their balance or anything like that. It doesn't affect their inner ear. So inner ear hair cells and middle ear hair cells, and it's a gift from God. I learned so much about the decimals and how much you can expose your hearing to. These kids with these earbuds nowadays, they are going to be so sorry when they're my age, because they blare their music. I did the same thing. Live bands, and a lot of people like musicians and truck drivers, cops, men that fire guns, and the army, all those kind of people are the ones that kind of end up with that tinnitus the most.
And then there's QHS to help them all.
Right. But they don't know that yet. They think we're crazy, remember?
I'm going to tell you something else really cool. So Cynthia described it, that everything in your body has a specific frequency signature that's unique to you. And without it, you die. So when you are missing something in your body, they leave a small tail of that so that the frequency of that piece of your body remains, just a small touch of it, so that frequency is still there. That's a God thing too, if you think about that, right? Every single piece of you is important. So if they remove something, they have to leave a portion of it in order for the frequency signature to keep you alive. That's just,
Right.
to me, a symphony right there. That's just amazing.
Well, I think it's amazing that the doctor could go ahead in there and fix my hearing, but unable to fix my balance.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that before he went in there. He knew he wasn't going to be able to fix my balance. He knew, I guess, because he's an ear doctor. But that sure would have been helpful if he could have. But like little kids, how they can hear so far away. They can hear you whisper, and
Yeah.
it's because their little hair cells they're just floating free in their head and just hearing everything as far as it can hear. But as you age, that hair cell slows down.
Mm-hmm.
And the more work, like men that do dirty jobs, and how people get earwax and just dirt and just stuff, that makes that hair cell go like this. And that's hearing loss. So
Wow.
yeah, so you want to be a little kid again. Your little hair cells are going to pick up everything as far away.
So
it's
then
really cool.
After QARC, you have to come back and do a part 2. So
I will.
That way, and I'm going to tell you one word of advice if you want to hear it.
Sure. I still got time. I still got 20 minutes.
Well, lean in to the possibility of having all of it done. See it already happening, because this is our quantum reality. We want to see it
Right.
in order to create it and know that it's your truth.
I do. I watch people dance. I can't dance. I'd fall my ass. Easy, like any kind of country line dancing, anything like that. There's just no way.
So do you want to dance?
As long as somebody holds my hand.
No, after the QARC, you don't need that.
Well,
come on, Mary, lean in.
Well, we'd have to. I couldn't dance before. Is it going to make me a good dancer? Because I never did.
Yeah, I told Thomas I want to be a good singer.
That would be nice. I've always wanted to sing too, but I never was a dancer. I was a fat girl when I was young. I weighed almost 300 pounds. And I've lost all the weight. I've lost the same 100 pounds 3 times.
Well, you know what they say is that, and this I've heard on a call, the ideal 30-year-old doesn't have a lot of fat on her body. The ideal 30-year-old, I mean, they tested thousands of women to come up with this ideal 30-year-old. And that is what we get to step into. I
saw when that night Dr. A showed the 30-year woman, the 30-year-old, and how I've been listening a long time. I've seen a lot of calls and a lot of interesting stuff, and I just can't wait. I'm so excited.
That's cool.
That it's already this close finally after hearing about it. It becomes a fantasy. You got people just now joining last month, and they don't have a clue to what I've learned over this last year by listening to these weekly calls.
Oh, tell me about it. I get messages all the time and people asking me things, and I'm like, well, it was on the call. It was in the telegram.
I've been writing stuff down, like the knee thing. And, I had an ankle. I hurt my ankle in 8th grade. I jumped off the balance beam and twisted it, and I heard it crack. And my mom took me to the emergency room, and they x-rayed it, but they said, it's not broke. But you know what, Tracy? It never looked like an ankle again. The doctor, when he told my mom she would have been better off to break it. It's just a very severe sprain. And that's 8th grade. So as I got older, it was like that ankle never looked the same as the undamaged ankle that never has had any problems. And you know what? I had them next to each other, and I was comparing them because I was going to talk to you, and you were wanting this kind of information. And I looked down at my ankle, and it was like that big knot that was there for that didn't get set when I did it when I was 12. It looks like the other ankle that was never damaged. I could not believe it. It's like I kept
Wow.
looking, and it's like, wow, that doesn't stick out nearly as far as it used to. I mean, just like that little bone on my knee that I used to be able to roll, I can't find it. It's not even there anymore. And I can press on that spot. I can sleep on that side that can touch the sheets. All that's left is the little white mark from where that little dog's tooth was. And it
Wow.
was a dog I was babysitting, and it was, some dogs get treat anxiety, and I was throwing the treat down on the ground for him to get it. And I went to point to it, and I guess he thought I went to get it. And he just got a hold of my muscle. He didn't, it hurt, and I had canine marks, but not enough to go to the doctor. And I didn't want to get the dog in trouble because they have to
Yeah.
report it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
suck it up kind of thing. That's why I've never had to do that.
Yeah. That's
but
good.
to have that, now it has a little bump that I don't know if you can see or if you even want to. You see?
Point to it. Oh, yeah. 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 I see it. The white thing. Yeah. I see that.
Well, that thing used to stick out like this far.
Wow. Well, that good thing is scars have been disappearing too. I mean, people have
Yeah, it's a
reported
lot
scars.
lighter.
That's cool.
It is.
Awesome. Well, Mary, I just want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. You're
Sure.
so much fun, and I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad I can hear you now.